request Mr. Amarjit Singh Chandhiok, our President-elect, to pay his tribute to Mr. Nariman.
After saying so much, what is it? Learned Attorney General, my seniors and stalwarts of the bar on the dais, off the dais, I think Prashant was very right. I don't think even 2 hours of a tribute session can even pay tribute to what he has done in our lives. To me, today was the need for him to live when we lost him. Today was the need for a person like him to lead us, guide us, tell us how do we say what he said, independence of judiciary. But well, God has his own ways of doing things. To speak about him, to my mind, is trying to contain an ocean in a small turn, which is not possible. To talk to him, the more one says, the more remains. After listening to my president of what his interactions came to me, that I was in a senior's chamber and a writ petition was filed, which was before Justice Deshpande and who was the, at that time, ASG. The question was with respect to a unauthorized construction in Connaught Place. So I went on because the Senate couldn't do, passover was fought. Anyways, I think in 15 minutes I must have said Mumty on the top is not unauthorized construction. And Fali Sahab was not able to understand what is Mumty is talking about. So he tells the Honorable Judge, I think you have adjourned this case or put it after lunch. I first want to learn from this young boy, what does Mumty mean? What is unauthorized construction now? So that was the vision of a person who would stand with a youngster and tell him, I want to learn from you, what is it? How many of us can do that today? Is a question we must ask ourselves. Let me give you something more personal. Every year one had the opportunity to wish him on his birthday, and next day the acknowledgement would come. This year, when I wished him, and when I sent the flowers to him, I also wrote the name of my family, including my daughter, little granddaughter. And came the reply next day, first addressing to my granddaughter, thank you so much for addressing. This was the person, a human being, that Mr. Fali Nariman was. If we take it to the learned Attorney General said he enriched the bar. I think it's all what we have published today, as the President said. If we read them through, you will even find that he was one who supported the strike when Section 30 of the Advocates Act was not being notified by the government. So look at all his facets, whether you talk about him in court, whether you talk about him as a human being, whether you talked about him as a person, and above all, he will tell you about your religion, which probably you don't know yourself. And he would explain to you how the oneness is common between us, and that oneness should take us to the next decade. So why should remember when one went for a briefing, Fali Sahab, so after he had heard the facts of the case, he says, do you think you're thorough with your facts? If you're not, we'll postpone to next day, so that you come thorough. Unless you understand and thoroughly understand the facts, your thought process in your brief will never go. And that's the lesson one learned way back in 78. It's still, it looks ringing in my ears. The person as a human being, I think everybody has said so, I do not want to repeat. But today the need of the hour is, as people said, that he would not talk to you only on the phone. He would meet you across the corridors of the Supreme Court, High Court, wherever he met you. He will stop, talk to you, wish you, ask you about your family, and then move forward. Therefore, these kinds of stalwarts would be missed in our bar today. In fact, all this technology is fine, but to me, the interaction, personal, should more important than the technology that we have to adopt. We must take it as a tool. That's the understanding that I get from him. Who was Fali Nariman Sahib? He was a great man whom I fortunately enough to come in contact with. He never tried to be great, but greatness grew in him without his knowledge or consent. He was a master storyteller, as I think Mr. Chadla also said, no doubt. Whether it was public speech or a briefing session, stories would come. In one of his articles or speech, he had said that a client in his attempt to win in arbitration decided to kidnap the arbitrator. Likewise, he would tell many more court stories, incidents which you will not find anywhere. I think that's the way we need to look at. Where do we find, and I think Subhash would be able to help us in this regard, to see where do we find all this and then publish it, put it in public domain so that our generations that are coming to look at that legacy and adopt it in whatever manner we can. Once he told a group of us who met him at a bar station matter the story about what happened to Union government's application for reconsideration of Keshavan Bharati's case. For 2 days, late Mr. Palkiwala argued the matter. Some of the judges accepted his arguments on the very first day, the others on the next day, except the Chief Justice, who ultimately, we all know, dissolved the bench and the matter came to an end. So all that effort we saw happening in court and saw him withstanding that part with them. In fact, in a letter that he wrote to Dharma Bhandari Sahib in 12 January 2017, it has been just circulated amongst the social media very recently. With his departure, we have lost a single source we have been having who could lead us authoritatively on the history of our Constitution, the principles thereof, and the need that we need to do to strengthen the rule of law. That's why I think the rule of law is important, and the Bar Association decided that it must be delegated to Mr. Nariman. I think he's one of the few persons who was designated senior at the age of 42, and from there he took cuddles with everything possible. And I don't know whether Subhash would remember, 3 points was given in a briefing, and he thought that was useless. But when he came to the court, he first said, "Will you remind me of those 3 points? They are worth looking at and worth mentioning to the court." So these are aspects that we need to learn. We need to adopt, not only learn, we need to adopt. And once we adopt that, I'm sure, notwithstanding the dark clouds that many of us feel are coming, notwithstanding that a young lawyer came up to me and said, "How does the Supreme Court judge does not know what is Order 11 rule CPC?" I said, "Well, he never did probably the original side work, so he doesn't know Order 11. He said, "Then he should buy training." And I was arguing he doesn't even understand what Order 11 is. Therefore, we need to learn from stalwarts like him what we need to do in our law, whether it is fundamental, whether it is collectively, whether what we have to address. And as Prashant just now said, how will your document be read by the other side is a training that he would give you. So we need to look at all that aspects and adopt them in our life while paying my humble tribute to him, my colleague and stalwart. Who told me to see just what is happening, but see what is going to happen. I have to conclude by saying our deepest feelings are the hardest to express. With drop of tear, I salute you, sir. May your soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chandhiok, and sharing this attention to detail and his humble